Hello and welcome to On Point. I'm Justin Borses. This fall, our team has explored some important issues. On our show today, we're going to revisit some of the coverage we've brought to you on those issues. We've covered President Biden's move to cancel college loan debt. We've asked what it means for such a huge university like Cal State Northridge to have so many of its students commuting to campus. We'll get to those issues in a moment, but we're going to begin this week with a conversation that's as urgent today as the day we recorded it: the drought in Los Angeles. Authorities recently introduced an ordinance that means Angelenos can only water their lawns 2 days a week. On Point's Victor Bratato reported on what the restrictions have been doing to Angelenos' yards.
Brown is the new green. Signs like these are posted all over campus around CSUN, and this is a great way to advertise the new colors of lawns everywhere around the state, whether it's houses or around the school, around anywhere you might be. If you see brown, it's what it's supposed to be.
As you can see, I don't water my lawn anymore. I can't water anything here in the grass. Both my grasses are dead in the front and the back. And I had a pool, but I can't fill it up with water anymore or add water. I just can't, I have to save water everywhere I can.
The LA Times reported that there was about a survey with 9,000 people surveyed, and 71% of them said that the drought crisis is actually very serious, while 23% said that it's somewhat serious.
We don't have enough water for their lawns. That's sad, because California used to have beautiful grass. And now we have problems with the fires out in the hills. There's hardly any water. All that dry vegetation catches fire really fast, and it causes problems.
In a study found by the New York Times, they found that the average Californian uses about 83 gallons of water per day. The average San Francisco resident uses about 40 gallons per day. And in Riverside County, they use 137 gallons.
That was On Point's Victor Bratato. LA residents do appear to be following the restrictions, reducing their water usage to historic lows. But climate change is likely to have lasting impacts on the water supply in the entire state, as Southern California's main sources of water dry up. So how long will Angelenos have to follow water restrictions? Let's revisit a conversation from late September with two water and conservation experts, led by On Point's Jaylene Aguilera.
With me, I have Professor William Boehm, who is a former professor from CSUN. I have Jill Lockhart, a planetary science professor at Pierce College. Welcome, guys. We're going to start off with our first question. How long will LA have to live with the new water restrictions going on?
Well, I'm at a distance now. I'm up in Northern California.
Oh, you are? Okay.
But Los Angeles has, throughout its entire history, had to live with water restrictions of one sort or another. It was founded as a royal pueblo in the 18th century. So it's had a grave problem with water. And so the current situation is just the latest page in a huge book of crises that now stretch back almost 200 years.
And
so
the population,
we'll live with the crisis almost forever.
the population has also been going up, which means that the demand is therefore also going up. I saw an article I was reading. NASA was wondering if, according to their models, California has about a year of water left. And so that's kind of the worst case of the scenarios on that. But I would say in terms of living with the restrictions, it depends on how well people follow them.
Okay, so then my next question would be for Professor Bowen. Are we responsible as residents here in LA, California, for these water shortages that are going on here in LA and California?
This gets to be a very complex issue. You do appreciate, I hope, that domestic water use throughout the entire state accounts for only 5% of the entire water budget of the state. The crisis is the allocation of water, not the lack of water. LA's resources are rather limited, but we have rather sizable resources if you look at it on the state level. Agriculture uses about 80% of the water of the state. It returns about 4% of the state's budget. Urban areas use roughly 10% to 15%. They return the other 95% of the budget. So it's an investment strategy, if you wish. You want to input your water bucks into something that returns very little value to a society, or do you want to put them into something that counts for a lot? Now, when I was a professor at Cal State Northridge, I used to ask each of my students what they thought they were worth. Because at that time, the water costs, and actual costs, not delivery and everything, but the actual water costs for each person in Los Angeles was about $10 a year. You think about that for a second.
Yeah.
You're worth more than $10 a year. So there are real historical issues, distribution issues, political issues. And in my dealings with the state's Department of Water Resources, long ago when I worked with the LA Department of Water and Power, up in the Owens Valley, in the San Joaquin Valley, it became very clear that there's an awful lot of water, but not for you.
All right, so then I'm going to toss in my next question over to Professor Lockard. What kind of consequences are we facing in not obeying these water restrictions?
I think what Professor Bowen said is correct. There is water, but LA is limited in terms of the availability of that water, the access we have to it. And so the consequences, there are cities around the world that have put in more severe restrictions, and they are now limiting a certain number of gallons each day to what their population is allowed to use. But I know right now they are already looking at putting in fines for people who are not obeying the restrictions. They're also putting in restrictors for people who continue to irrigate, because again, Professor Bowen is correct, the irrigation is one of the big consumers of water. And so they're actually going to start putting in restrictors that your showers and your sinks will work fine, but you cannot get enough water flow to irrigate. And so I think we're going to see more of the stick as opposed to the carrot coming up on that.
Okay. So my next question would be to both of you guys. Anyone can answer. Where does our water come from?
Want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I'll start, and then I know you have a lot of experience working with the at the state level on this, but a lot of our water is brought in from up north. You had the Mulholland Project and the canals, and a lot of it is being brought from higher up, such as Owens Valley region, and that's been going on for almost a century or so now. And so a lot of our water is basically imported from more up north. And then that goes to, again, what we were saying about the limited resources in LA. We're bringing in water from elsewhere.
Two experts on water policy speaking last September with On Point's Jaylene Aguilera, who produced the show along with Victor Bertado, Andre Lopez, and Nicole San Juan. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll explore the difficulties of being a student at a commuter college and the impact of President Biden's decision to cancel a huge chunk of college loan debt. This is On Point. We'll be right back.
STEM is everywhere, like here, behind the scenes of The Walking Dead.
When we break down clothes, we tumble it with trisodium phosphate, rock salt, and dish detergent.
We stitched together images of our model and created a 3D set that could be walked through in a VR headset.
We're able to turn 12 walkers into 1,000 walker boards.
STEM can create new worlds on and off the screen. What will you make with STEM? Get inspired at SheCanSTEM.com.
There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey.
Welcome back to On Point. I'm Justin Borses. College debt is a huge source of frustration, but many Americans may soon see some relief. President Joe Biden recently announced a plan to erase $10,000 in federal student loan debt for any borrower with an income below $125,000 a year. He's also canceling an additional $10,000 in loan debt for any student who received a Pell Grant, which helps lower-income students pay for college. But Biden has said some types of loans won't be eligible for cancellation. And he also says the 2-year pause in student loan payments will end soon. 6 Republican-controlled states have filed a lawsuit challenging Biden's loan cancellation program. And in late October, a federal appeals court hearing this case temporarily blocked the loan forgiveness program. The plaintiffs argue the president's plan goes too far, violating the separation of powers. But other critics argue Biden's plan does not go far enough to address America's reliance on student loan debt. So what does the future hold for college students? And how will canceling some student loan debt change the choices students make before or after college? Here's part of last month's conversation moderated by On Point's Reina Torres.
Today joining us, we have Isaiah Jones, CSUN student, and we have Jasmine Hallett, CSUN student, and we also have Emmanuel Rodriguez from the Institute for College Access and Success. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you. So I want to go ahead and jump into asking you both, Jasmine and Isaiah, how big a role did money play when you were deciding whether to go to college and where to go to college?
I'd say it was 50-50. I'm from Connecticut, so it's a far journey to be going to school at CSUN. But yeah, I had to look for affordable options. I know I was going to have to take out loans. And my dad doesn't make that much, so I knew I was going to get some help, if not at least a little. But yeah, I would say 50-50. If not, it was 75% made on like my options were based on what was affordable.
Thank you. Isaiah?
Yeah, so it's similar to hers. It's just that I knew that I was going to have to take out the loans because my mother did not make that much money. So it kind of like narrowed down like my dreams and the dream schools. So yeah.
So how was the experience like choosing CSUN to be your first school choice?
It's actually, I feel great about the decision I made. It's been very welcoming since I've been here, and I just love the amount of resources that is provided at the campus.
Thank you. Jasmine?
Yeah, I would say it was very welcoming as well. It's still, I think, since I'm a sophomore, it's a little still just getting used to things, but overall very welcoming.
How has your experience with student loans been like so far?
It's been a little complicated as well because I'm taking out student loans as well as my parents are taking out parent loans. And I've had a little complications, especially this semester. So recently it's been a little hard to navigate, but hopefully this relief or me applying for the relief will help a little.
For sure. Isaiah?
It hasn't been too complicated for me. It's just been understanding the loans and how it works. It's pretty much.
Okay. So before we get into further discussion, let's take a look at what President Biden's relief plan entails.
My campaign for president, I made a commitment. That would provide student debt relief. And I'm honoring that commitment today. Using the authority Congress granted the Department of Education, we will forgive $10,000 in outstanding federal student loans. In addition, students who come from low-income families, which allowed them to qualify to receive a Pell Grant, will have their debt reduced $20,000.
Okay, I have a question for Jasmine. What was your reaction when President Biden announced the Biden-Harris administration student debt relief plan to cancel $10,000 in student loan debt in August of this year? Jasmine?
I kind of had mixed feelings because one, obviously, that could possibly benefit me, so that's a good thing. But a bad thing is like, it's since it's the whole like whoever's applying is the whole country. I'm curious as to know like how much money like in total is this going to cost, and like where the funding is coming from.
Okay, will you be applying?
I haven't decided yet. I'm still discussing with my parents about it.
Isaiah, would you be applying?
Yes, I will.
Okay. All right, so thank you. So for the sake of our audience, please tell us more about yourself regarding your type of work, Manny.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you for giving me time and space to be with you all. My name is Manny Rodriguez. I am the Director of Policy and Advocacy here in California for TICAS, the Institute for College Access and Success. We're a nonprofit research advocacy organization who works for affordability, accountability, and equity in higher education. We work at the national level, as well as our 2 states offices here in California, as well as Michigan.
On the point of financing, as you know, with the Biden-Harris administration student debt relief plan, how will removing student loans of $10,000 change the choices students make before or after college?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think for us at the end of the day, the way we look at this is progress towards putting more people, particularly students, on solid financial ground after college. It's definitely not the silver bullet. I think it's clear that our higher education system is overly reliant on debt-financed education, which is not good. But it is progress across the nation, and for millions of borrowers. Here in California, we expect that to be about 3.5 million borrowers who can receive up to 10,000, potentially 20,000, right? So what this means before and after. So after college, one of the things that we'd like to highlight is this will make sure that students do not have to worry about high monthly payments, ballooning balances, and make it harder for them not to build wealth after graduation, whether that's buying a home, investing in money, putting money away from retirement, etc. Before college, I would say that what this means is that, one, we shouldn't think this is going to be something on a regular basis. All indications point to this being a one-time thing. So before you go to college, make sure you maximize all your need-based aid through FAFSA here in California, the California Dream Act, merit-based aid through private scholarships. If you do have to borrow, make sure you borrow through the school system, not through private loans, since you do have more protections on that end. And it is a bit safer to borrow. But I think those are what we're looking at.
That was our October show with student borrowers and student loan advocates, produced by On Point's Reina Torres, Giovanni Reyes, and Jennifer Valdez. Now from paying for college to commuting to campus. California State University Northridge is known as a commuter school, but for many students, that commute isn't easy. A university report says only a fraction of the student body actually lives on CSUN's campus, and the vast majority of students, faculty, and staff commute to campus. Most travel alone by car. Very few take public transportation. With rent and gas prices rising, that commute isn't always easy. We explored the prevalence of commuter students at CSUN and what that means for the university back in October. Joining me today are our 2 guests, Henrik Manassians, who is an urban studies professor here at CSUN, and Melanie Guerrero, who is a CSUN student. Thank you both for joining us today. Before we begin, we want to dive into how Guerrero gets to campus, so On Point's Lupita Baltazar joined her on her commute.
Melanie Guerrero's commute starts here at the Oxnard train station with an approximate of a 40 miles ride on Metrolink commuter rail. She then takes a shuttle bus from Northridge train stop to CSUN. Most of the time she gets to campus at 7:15 in the morning before her classes even start, but she manages to take advantage of her time and do some homework or get something to eat.
The hardest part is probably at the beginning of every semester when I'm trying to plan out my class schedule, just because I really have to plan my classes out to a train schedule. It's not my own time, it's the train time.
For some students, the long rides are just part of their pursuit of a degree. According to a CSUN report, the campus community travels an average of 11 miles each way on an average of 4 days a week.
I would like to say that in the long run, it's worth it because I'm getting my education. I'm studying what I want to do, broadcast journalism. I want to be in this, so I'm studying my passion, so I like to think that it's worth it.
Still, navigating the train or bus system is not always an easy task when you have such a long commute.
You have to figure it on your own if that means getting on the wrong line at one point, because I almost did that. I almost went on the wrong line home and someone caught me.
Guerrero says it's not safe sometimes to be walking from school to the station, so if more shuttle buses were available for all the train lines, that would be helpful.
And once again, that was Lupita Baltazar speaking with our guest, Melanie Guerrero. Thank you, Lupita, for that report. Melanie, let's start with you. Did your commute factor into your decision to pick CSUN as a college?
When I was choosing colleges, I chose CSUN because I wanted to be a broadcast student, and CSUN was actually the closest school to me that offered broadcast journalism. All the other schools were like communications with an emphasis in film, or something along those lines. And we did think about the commute, my parents and I. It really was a family decision. I had family members who are CSUN alums, so we always thought either I would live here or I would drive here. And then it wasn't until like maybe right before the pandemic, right before I applied, that we realized the train was an option. Like it was just something that just popped into our heads. And we just didn't realize again that whole train schedule. But yeah, I would say it factored just a little bit.
And Henrik, Los Angeles is known for having some of the worst traffic in the United States. What does it say that many students choose to commute to CSUN, many of them driving alone despite that gridlock?
Yeah, part of the problem that Los Angeles is facing is disconnected form of public transit system. And majority of the public transit money, in fact, it goes into light rail instead of more connected designated lanes for buses. And as a result, we are seeing that more and more it's very difficult for public in general, and specifically CSUN students, to rely on public transit system in order to be able to get to campus in a timely fashion. And simultaneously, we are a commuter campus. It means that a lot of students, they come here for classes and then they have to go and work. So as a result, public transit system, if you're going to spend an hour or more each way, it's not going to work out. So that's why a lot of students, they rely on driving.
And Melanie, one way to eliminate this commute would be to live on campus. Is living on campus an option for you?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that it is something my parents are willing to do. They're willing, my whole family is willing to be kind of the support system to have me live off there. But in a way, it's also not, just because the cost of living is just way too high over here. And the extra work that I would need to put in to actually live on campus, considering that I only go to classes 3 times out of the week, twice out of the week, it just wouldn't be an equal balance.
And Henrik, to follow up on that question, how does the economic structure factor in to CSUN students choosing this campus? Is it feasible? Are there ways that it can be more cost effective?
Definitely. I mean, housing is a challenge, and living on campus is not inexpensive. In fact, housing on campus is extremely expensive. And I'm not arguing that housing off campus is better, but off campus, someone like Melanie has an option of living with family, getting support from family or extended family. Many people are doubling up, tripling up in order to live in an apartment, two-bedroom apartments, three-bedroom apartments. You don't have those options with campus housing. Campus housing usually is 2 students per room, and the cost is sometimes prohibitive, and that's the reality, that it's very difficult. And again, being a commuter campus, I think students are more reliant on their personal automobiles to go around, and that's how Los Angeles it's been designed going back to the turn of the previous century, that we eliminated any forms of short-term, short-distance trolley type of transportation, and we replaced it with highways and eventually heavily reliant on automobiles. And now we are trying to reverse that in a place that is already facing sprawl. And that's why many of our students, they have to, even that 11 miles that you're talking about, it could take half an hour or more sometimes to be able to get to campus driving.
And if CSUN wants to boost the numbers of students taking public transit options, what could the university do?
There has been in the past some conversations about taking the transit into different hubs, for example, Northridge Mall, and then providing some form of shuttles that continuously would bring the students to the campus. But one of the biggest challenges has been that the metro tried to connect the North Valley, which is Panorama, Sylmar, Pacoima, city of San Fernando, all the way through Van Nuys to Nordhoff, from Nordhoff with a designated lane, very much like the Orange Line, into the Northridge Mall, that it was going to help many of our students utilizing, let's say, the Red Line metro and then jumping on one of the bus transit links and getting to rapidly close to the campus or coming to the campus. That idea was killed by two neighbor councils, Balboa and Northridge Neighborhood Council. So as a result, that's on the back burner, and the metro is not planning to build that. So the campus can do a number of things, but it requires a bigger collaboration with the public systems and the metro in order to identify places that where the students are coming and where could be the hub, and then provide some form of a shuttle in order to bring them rapidly to the campus.
That conversation about commuter students at CSUN was produced by me and by fellow On Point producers Sade Pullen and Lupita Baltazar. We're going to take a short break. This is On Point. We'll be right back.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. Remember the best planned 90 minutes of your life? Or that surprise party for your parents' golden anniversary? You get the golden planning. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Thank you for watching On Point. You can follow us on social media at CSUN On Point. You can hear us on KCSN 88.5 FM on Sunday mornings at 5:30. You can watch us on LA 36 and Santa Clarita Valley Television. For all of us here at On Point, I'm Justin Borses.